Welcome to Home's Room. Just like Homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin. Welcome to Home's Room. With us today, a mom, a model, a photographer, a champion of all things body positivity, certified boss girl, Bex, aka the Cuddly Antelope. Welcome to Home's Room.
Thanks for having
me. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was quite the lead up. So basically, I'm a mom to 6 kids that also does some side modeling. And to be honest with you, I do a little bit of influencing, not as much as I used to. But I'm still pretty passionate about the whole body neutrality and positivity movement. Just life. My goodness, life is busy.
Yeah. On that note, I know you have a hectic life and I appreciate you being here. This is one of those like achievement unlocked moments for me because I respect you so much and I count myself lucky to have you on. You know, your posts are always open and honest, and that's something that I really try and, I try and be here. Can you let us know a little bit more about, what started you on that journey of like putting yourself out there to be so honest?
Yeah. So part of the reason why the Cuddly Antelope even exists is I gained about 100 pounds over a very short period of time back in 2018. And it wrecked me. It just, as somebody who prior to 2018 was very focused on appearance and my appearance being the only thing that held my worth, it destroyed me, which ironically enough actually made me become who I am today. So in a way, I see me unexpectedly gaining that weight as kind of something that saved my life. So the reason why I'm as transparent and open and honest as I am is I found people who I think helped me become confident, and I'm hoping to be able to give that to others. Being relatable and honest in our society is difficult and it opens you up to a lot of negative feedback, but the positive feedback and knowing that other people can relate and hopefully have the ability to see some positive is what matters to me.
Yeah, I love that answer. That is, like I said, from what I've read about you and, what your posts say, that, that that thing is so evident. And one of the things I really like about, what I've seen is your ability to support others and always kind of giving that credit towards, other creators, other people that are involved in, whatever thing. Like anytime I've ever reached out to you to be like, hey, I love that post, you're like, well, I got it from such and such. And you do that, and I love it. So, what's your favorite part about supporting others and, models and creators and all of that?
Honestly, I think my favorite part is that that's where I draw inspiration from. Whether I've seen it done a million times or, it's something new, it's always inspiring. There's always a twist to it. There's creativity. And I feel like credit should be paid when it's due. I admire people who go out on a limb and try new things. And in a world where we can be anything, I truly do believe in being kind.
Yeah, see, there you go. That we always get, tagged for people being like, man, you gave me inspiration for the day. And there's your inspiration for this episode is, just be kind and go out there and, support people and pay credit where it's due. I love that. So we mentioned that you were a photographer. What got you into photography?
So to be honest with you, it was definitely doing modeling and having some pretty horrific experiences within that modeling community.
Yeah.
Safety. Uh, what actually happened was my husband, partner, in photography also, uh, started capturing my sets for me while he was learning the art. And together we ended up over COVID just creating this company that focused on inclusivity and acceptance of all and offering safe places for everyone. Um, Including, I tend to focus more on the sex worker side of things,
Mm-hmm.
content creators, simply just because it's a vulnerable sector and a lot of people get taken advantage of. And that's honestly what we've been working on. We would love to do it full time, but we're still growing.
Yeah. That's one of those things. I tag my wife or send, your set, your, especially like your couple sets to, and I'm like, oh, I wish we live in Canada because we would love to do that, and finding a photographer that, number one, like you said, safe, but number two is like comfortable doing that kind of photography, and not making it weird on the simple fact that like my wife is a photographer, but like we can't, it's hard to, like, I'm sure, it's hard to do those things together, and they just never, it never comes out quite how we would want it to. But also the friends that we have that are photographers are generally not going to be like super comfortable taking that kind of content for us, so we kind of gotta like figure it out. But I love your work as far as that goes, and please shout out your company as far as your photography goes, because I want people to start supporting it.
So it's Elm Photos 2019 or elmstudios.ca. And thank you. That's that really, like, it makes me smile anytime I hear that type of feedback because we put so much into it. Well, if your wife is a photographer, you know how much goes into our art, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do have to highly suggest couple sessions, especially boudoir, sometimes erotic, whatever you are into. They are so fun.
Yeah.
Seeing your chemistry from the eyes of others.
Yeah, that's the thing that I really like about him is like, you just posted maybe 2 days ago, 3 days ago, or something like that, I think. Yeah, a couple of them from one, and I was just like, man, that's so like as even though the content is consumed how most of the time it's consumed, I just see the art in it, like with Suicide Girls and modeling in general and all that kind of stuff. I always just see the art in it, and I love seeing that thing done, because to me I see all of the work that came into a photographer, a model, idea, a concept, question, like all of those layers of what it became, that where it started all the way to what it was completed as. And I know that when banger sets come out, or a good photo is like just out there, it's like that fist pump moment, like, yeah. So I love that.
I love that. Like, honestly, that's exactly how I see it. And speaking of Suicide Girls, like, I am wholeheartedly, I think that's why I love the community so much is, well, one, of obviously, we're there. Everybody's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But the community and the creativity, it flows and it's so nice to see.
It is. That's one of the things that like I'm curious about as well, is how has looking through the lens helped you to see more beauty in the world, like uh on a walk, or driving, thinking how cool a place would be to like do a set, or take some shots, or has that changed since picking up the camera?
Oh, always. Especially when it comes to urban exploring, into anything that looks run down or abandoned. It's, hey, do you think we could get in that? But I love it, and I wish that I posted more of it and we had more time. The best thing about COVID for us, which obviously, like, it feels weird to say that because of it being COVID and how serious it was in the beginning. But in the beginning, it was going to the abandoned locations and exploring, and we very much so are look, don't touch. And some of the stuff you see, you're just kind of wondering if the walls could talk, what they have seen.
Yeah. That's definitely, something that I like. I live in a rural part of the US, so like there's not much, and every time I see a spot, it's like, man, that'd be so cool to go to, but I almost guarantee it is somebody's private property, and I don't want to be just strolling up for that. So, um, like I said, I'm always curious if photographers see the world so much differently, and they can see, like I'm a builder. I tinker with stuff, so I can see something that's a project that could be something cool. But I think photographers just see the world in like, almost a movie like quality, where like they can see 30 different things that can happen in that one spot just because of, what it looks like. And does that kind of translate into like a creative outlet for you that like gets you jazzed about the next thing? Or is it like oh, thank God that one's done, on to the next?
My poor partner, um, it translates because I can see a couch, but then I can see the couch in five different sets. So for you, I know you've followed us for a while. You've seen how many change ups our studio has had.
Yeah.
I've promised him I will not plan anything for at least a year. The poor man just yeah, he can't catch a break, but I have turned into that person where we go on a walk and it's, ooh, that tree would be perfect for a session. Look, could you imagine X, Y, and Z? And he's just kind of sitting there like, okay. So, and of course, like he's up for it, but I'm definitely more the one who goes outside and everything can be turned into art that way.
Yeah. That's one of the things that, the both of you like, and obviously like I only get like a 25% window into that, but like the work that you both create, and like whenever you tend to thank him for doing the things that, have helped you out in your posts. And I always love that. Like me and my wife, whenever we help each other out or we're supporting each other's work, we try and say, like I wouldn't have been able to do it without, their help or whatever. But at the same time, it's like I remember going into that being like, here's another thing I got to do. But at the end of the day, I am happy with the results. So I assume it's kind of like that.
Very much so, but I think that's how most, relationships, partnerships work. And unfortunately, I think we're all a little bit of each other's pain in the ass.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so we may bounce around a little bit just because like there's so many things that I want to like that like this is about. And like I said, we're doing, badass boss girl series where like people that bring so much to, more than just their niche. They are out there doing, multiple things, trying to be as impactful as they can in all of these areas. So, when you start your content, or when you started doing your content and you started, speaking more about it, the body positivity aspect of your content, like, can you, I guess a little bit of advice or a little bit of, I'm trying to get the word I want to use, where, where you want to push that world, like what you wish you could be giving back to that world of body positivity in your, with your posts.
So I started out and I was super into the body positive movement. And I found it's actually turning a little bit into a toxic movement. So I've actually kind of drawn back to more of a body neutral stance. Unfortunately, as most things, when they become popular, such as the body positive movement, they transform. And right now, there's this toxic spin of you always need to be positive about your body. And it's not true. You can love yourself, but also not necessarily love all of yourself at the same time. And that's okay. Um, I'm an extremely confident woman in my body. I'm 230 pounds and only 5'1". I'm healthy, but also morbidly obese, according to medical doctors. And I would be lying to say that I wake up every single day loving myself. So, the most important thing that I really want people to take away when I'm posting is that you just have to really, at the end of the day, be okay with who you are and understand there may be days where that means not loving yourself, but then the next day you start pushing again and you work on it. Um, yeah, I guess for me, it's more of the realization that we're all human, we're all flawed, and that's okay.
Yeah, that is beautifully said. I think that I would agree. I hadn't heard that term yet, but I like that better. I follow a lot of people that are, a part of that movement. And as a skinnier dude, I kind of get the opposite end of it where, I get people yelling at me to go eat a sandwich or don't skip leg day and things like that. And that always sucks. But I have noticed comments, on people's pages that are posting about, how they feel about themselves that day, or, just a positive message in general. And comments now, instead of being like, thank you for trying to put positivity in the world, it's comments like, well, now you've lost a little bit of weight, so you're just another pretty girl. Or, now you've changed and you're popular, so your words don't hold as much weight because everybody loves you, so you don't know what it's like to be, marginalized now. And it's like, that's insane to me. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've seen microcosms of it, but I didn't know it was truly, there's like yeah, let's push that off to the side and let that be a thing over there. Cause yeah.
It like, so I could go two ways right now. One, I can venture off into male body positivity and male body neutrality, unfortunately, if you are a male, like you identify as a male, there is absolutely minimal help out there and pages out there geared towards you. It is mainly geared towards individuals that identify as female. And it's not okay. It's not right. I really wish that I had that ability to speak more about it, but obviously I don't identify as male, and I cannot speak on behalf of the males.
Yeah.
I do every now and then try my hardest to say, hey guys, let's take it down for a second and talk about certain things when it comes to men. I actually try really hard to touch on mental health for men, and also penis size for men,
Yeah.
because let's all be real, we've all seen those posts. And I've seen a lot of body positive influencers talk about small dick energy. And I've actually openly talked about how I don't agree with it. Um, you know, one, penis size should never matter when it comes to an energy. And two, penis size really doesn't matter when it comes to sex all that much either. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but, and then when we go the other way, I look at it as body positive movement. Um, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. If you're mid-size, you're too small. If you're fat, you're too big. You're not healthy. If you admit to not liking yourself on a day, well, that's not body positive. You can't do that. You can't be under that hashtag because you're spreading negativity. Um, it's unfortunate to see where it's gone to.
Yeah. That definitely is. You kind of touched on it, and this is, something that I've always appreciated. And I think almost every time you've done it, I've reached out and been like, thank you for posting that. But you are one of the few people who I see like consistently mentioning men in that realm, and like you said, mental health, body shape, size, everything. So number one, thank you for that, because for me, I don't see that often. And I always try and share it when I do see it, or when I do come across them, because it is important. And I am a male who understands mental health and understands not everybody likes their body. And I think that I can't be the only one. So I appreciate you doing that. But you kind, like I said, you kind of touched on it. But what's something that like women you would advise to women about body shaming men unintentionally? Because that seems, like you said, the small dick energy, that thing. Quick story to give you like kind of context. I drive a lifted Jeep. It's called Captain Phasma. It is actually like ironically named after a badass like female character. So like cool, thanks for that. But walking through the parking lot, a mom and her daughter looked at my Jeep. They were maybe like 10, 15 steps in front of me and they were like, haha, must be small. And in my head, I was like, man, that's jacked up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to say something. So I was like, yeah, it is. And they both turned around and looked at me. And then I got into the Jeep and I was like, man, I bet you the whole way home, they were like, do you think it really is? It can't be. Cause he said what? And just to mess with them. Cause I think that that's not something that should happen. You know, whether it comes to cars, whether it comes to, anything that a guy is interested in, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's compensating for something. Maybe they just like it. But in that vein, what's some advice you would give to those people to not do stuff like that?
I think the best advice that I've ever seen given is just don't comment on people's bodies.
Yeah.
Um, like
Yeah.
I don't know when it became okay for us to have a comment on others' bodies, because last time I checked, I don't want somebody doing it to me, so I'm not going to do it to somebody else. I'm raising 5 boys, and for me, being very aware of what I say towards my sons is key. Growing up as a female, I went through my own issues. I don't know everything they're going through despite reading multiple books and talking to them, but I do know that the girls their age even have started saying stuff about how they're not muscly or how my two of my sons have hair down to the middle of their backs. Um, and they talk about how they look like girls. Uh, and really, at the end of the day, why does it matter? Um,
Yeah.
I think the best advice in that entire situation, period, don't comment on somebody's appearance or body, anything. Just be nice. Again,
Yeah.
it it comes back to what our parents have taught us. Well, should have taught us. But just be nice. Just it takes nothing to brighten somebody's day.
Yeah. And that, everybody, is why we have the Cuddly Antelope here, because yeah, that's like the message, and your posts and everything always kind of, echo that. And I think that that's amazing. And uh you said, your mom and you have kids. I'm a girl dad. I have two girls. So, I got asked the question, if I had boys, would I be teaching them something different than I'm teaching my daughters? And I was like, no, because ultimately I want them to be good human beings. It doesn't matter, what it is or isn't. My oldest daughter goes to school almost every day in some sort of my hero cosplay, and does her makeup and all sorts of stuff, and has teal hair. She's about to dye it purple. I actually just went through Ulta the other day to get Haley Williams' new vegan dye because I heard it was supposed to be so good, and that's the place that has it, and I wanted to get it for her. So I was the dad in Ulta buying my teenage daughter hair dye. But like I just believe in supporting them and having them be good human beings. So that's my goal. What's one of your biggest goals as a parent? And like, how do you balance the life that you guys have and being a parent, because you tend to go on some adventures from what I've seen.
Oh man. Okay. So my hope for being a parent for them to know that they're loved. unconditionally, no matter what. You know, I always joke with them where, if you kill somebody, I'll be your alibi and I'll help you hide the body. I wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want them to know, I want them to know I would love them unconditionally, no matter what. I'm not going to be shocked. I may not agree with their choices and I may mum them, but I will still love them. Um, right now, handling our life and children, um, actually, oddly enough, made a post in my story about it yesterday, admitting I'm not handling it well. Um, I am very transparent about struggling with mental health and being a parent. And yeah, I'm fucking winging it. Like, I'm trying, I'm in survival mode, man.
Yeah. I think that, you
Yeah.
know,
And sorry to cut you, but
uh,
as a dad, how often do you get the chance to just flat out say that? Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
yeah. Um, I I personally I think any parent that any parent that knows anything about parenting knows that you're always winging it. And I've never been a parent of a 13-year-old before, so I have no idea how it's happened. And when my other one becomes a 13-year-old, I may have been a parent of a 13-year-old before, but I've never been a parent of that 13-year-old. So it's a whole different ball game every time you turn around. And you know, I think that mental health and struggling with it and being transparent about it when you have kids is, in my opinion, arguably better than trying to be strong and act like you don't, because they see you being vulnerable. They see that and they know that it's okay, and that tomorrow you're still going to love them and you're still going to do your best, even if, that day is a day where you couldn't get out of bed. And that's, I think, one of the struggles that, like, I don't want to say our generation, but like, like our, for lack of a better term, generation of like people is out here saying it's okay to not be okay. And the people that are fighting so hard to make it seem as though it's supposed to be pushed down or squelched, and that's the only way you deal with your problems. It tends to be the people that are the loudest, but I don't think anybody's actually listening to them personally.
I think we've definitely, as a society, hit that point of, obviously we're all suffering from some sort of generational trauma, so maybe we should try some new things.
I would agree with that. I know for me, I want my kids to know I showed up for them, and that's like the biggest thing I can do. Um, my parents were always busy medical professionals, so they were kind of always like doing something. So I wasn't, I didn't have them show up for field trips. Like, I think maybe I had one parent show up for a field trip like twice. So I try and go on all of my daughter's field trips when they pop up, because I want them to know that I support them. And, I want them to know that, like, hey, you guys are being crazy. I'm not like in the best headspace right now. I need you to calm down. At the same time, like, that's just, to me, the best way to do it. So I think what you're saying is really, like, strong and positive. And I'm sure at the end of the day, like, every kid's annoying to some degree, but like they're your kids, so that level of annoying kind of is like lovable.
So I'm not sure how your parental evolution went, but I have a 16-year-old. I had her at a very young age. I was 18. Um, and it went from everything needs to be perfect. And then I had my last in my mid 20s. And now it's like nothing's going to be perfect. I just need them to be alive and know that they are loved at the end of the day, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure but you saying perfectly to a T, I've never had a teenager before. I feel that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Um, we
No,
sorry.
no, no, I was gonna say I admire you being the Alta dad and
Yeah.
like good for you.
I like I want to be the dad to them that if I was in their position, I wish I would have. I do silly stuff, stupid stuff all the time, and to make sure that they're laughing, to make sure that they're smiling. But my youngest one, we call her the stabby one, and she'll cut you a look. She'll do all the things that like make you wonder whether she's going to be standing at the end of your bed with a Chucky mask at the end of the night, kind of thing. So we just we treat that one with as much respect as we can, but also, it is different. And with our first one, we were more concerned about things. And because of that, she does seem to take less risk. And it was like, wow, I can literally see that parenting style and that difference between them. And I think that's, as a parent, wild.
It's it's definitely wild, and I love that you have a stabby child because I have a stabby child too. Yeah, no, and you're right. It's definitely you can see as your parenting evolves, it's like, and this is when they started eating from the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I have to ask this, and I hope that like when we get closer to like our Halloween episodes, I might be able to get you back on. But you go on walks in abandoned and possibly haunted places. You also have some amazing stories from what I heard when on the Fat Sexy Stoned Crazy podcast with Boz, and like some of those stories, like I tell me more. Like I want to know how that came about, and like how often do you get to go ghost hunting ish?
So I don't really know. I always tell people this, and I'm looked at like I have three heads, but from the time I was very small on, uh, I always kind of saw things or felt connected to some weird things. I remember being four and jumping down my stairs because there was a man in the hallway. And I'm a firm believer that there is something that's attached to me and my family, which you've heard me talk about on my podcast. So it started when I was small, seeing a man always in my door. And as I grew up, I just kind of assumed that it was me being a kid because, ghosts aren't real. Uh, and then it kept happening. And then weird things would happen. We would leave and come back, and all of our framed posters would be around our house, but they would still be hung up, the backs of them. It would make no sense how they all fell. Things would be randomly moved. I would have friends come over who I never talked to about this, and they'd say, hey, I had a really crazy dream last night. There was a guy standing above the couch. One of my friends, Julie, actually won't return to my house. And having monitors go off, mobiles go
Mhm.
off in the middle of the night when my children aren't home, uh, and walking into a room to my infant gabbing to somebody in the corner that's empty. He would wake up every day between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Ooh.
So, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like, and for a while I thought I was just, okay, no, I'm scaring myself. It's nothing. Until my oldest child admitted that the reason why they always slept with the door shut was because it felt like there was always a man watching them in the doorway. And then my youngest child, who I love to death, but my God, it's like having a newborn. We finally started asking him, hey, love, why aren't you sleeping at night? What's wrong? And it's that the man wakes him up. Uh, we've never said anything to our children. It's only two of my biological children that have said it, but they both see the same thing that I saw as a child. So I've always been drawn to supernatural, but I could really go on. Like people look at me like I'm crazy, but yeah,
That's why I said we'll have to, like, if
yeah,
we can make it happen. I would love to have you back on when we do some Halloween episodes. Uh, and foreshadowing, like, pun intended, but that is so eerily similar to my story. It is insane. Right now, our house, the house that we bought, backs up to a memorial cemetery. So it's not like a big cemetery. It's usually war veterans. So it's very small. But like our whole backyard, like our fence is the cemetery on the other side. So our backyard looks into the cemetery. And this is the first house that I've lived in where I have almost little to no activity of some kind. And I find that mind blowing. I don't know if it's because it's so close to the cemetery that it makes them tend to stay away because it reminds them that they're not here or what. But yeah, I had my oldest now when she was probably about, I guess, 9, maybe, because it was when we first moved into this house. She came out of her room, a small hallway, and she went immediately back into her room. And I was like, that was weird. And then I thought she came out of her room again. And then I kept looking over, like, what are you doing? Why are you not coming out into the living room or going to the bathroom? So I called her name, and then she yelled from the room. Usually they notice they coming and then, like, to appear, not to just say yes from a room outside of, where they're being beckoned from. And finally she comes out, and I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, I am up on my loft bed at the other end with my blankets. Why? And I was like, because it looks like you just keep running out from your room. And she was like, no, that's why I'm on that side, because I was coming out of my room and there was a lady standing there, and it scared me. So I went back to my room. And I kind of looked at her like, a lady standing there, like, what do you mean? Like, what are you watching? What's going on? And she described what me and my sisters, when we were younger, described as the Victorian lady, down to her purple trimmed dress. And that is insane because
wow,
she doesn't know about that. Me and my sisters don't talk about that often because we're very rarely in the same place at the same time to talk about it, let alone my daughter being there as well. So there's no way that she would have known about it. But she described almost exactly. And it's just like, wow, that's crazy. So you having that same story is very, 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 like, I grabbed my heart earlier because I was like, oh, I feel that exact same thing.
yeah. And I don't, until you go through something like that. Like I still wake up every now and then, not often, but every now and then I'll wake up and I'll grab my partner and I'll say, "Do you see him?" And he's there. I've just kind of, as I've aged, it's not quite as scary.
Mm-hmm.
I claim my space, and and I go back to bed. It's like, shoo. But as a child, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but has anybody ever tried to say that it's oh, I'm not gonna remember the name. Not night terrors, but it's I will think of it properly.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but it's essentially it's just a deep sleep is what people say,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that's not so much the case because you are very aware that you are
Yeah.
awake.
Like I said, this is kind of teasery, so hopefully it'll get people to come back for when I do these Halloween
Yeah.
episodes. Because I told my co-host, I was like, man, I got enough stories that, like, we do like an episode a week. So I was like, I could do at least 2 stories every week for the entire month of October, just because I have that many stories. And I have had, like, my dad saw stuff when he was younger and kind of prepared me for it, or at least kind of took the edge off. So he did, like, when I started noticing things, he didn't play it down like, oh, whatever, it's just, you're just a silly kid, it's just, what. But my mom was very Christian, and she would, try and make it seem as more godly, and more like I had to pray 9 times and all of these. So, like, I didn't feel crazy, but I also didn't like that wasn't working. So I had this weird like, balance. And like you said with, one of your kids, I used to have to sleep with the door cracked, the TV on, and my back towards the TV because it cast enough of a shadow that I the shadows that I was seeing in my room, I just ignored as like myself or my toys. And maybe it's the sound I'm hearing in my room is actually from the hallway. And just to trick myself into thinking that it was like a night terror or sleep paralysis or some stupid thing that my body is like doing while I'm trying to sleep.
You said sleep paralysis.
That's what I figured you were talking
But
about.
no, honestly, yeah, yeah, thank you. But honestly, I feel that so much. My mom was very much Christian, and would make me say my prayers before bed and drilled good and bad into my head. And growing up and seeing things and trying to talk to somebody about seeing things, no, no.
Yeah. Uh,
It's nice though. Like I will be down for listening to your Halloween podcast because I love this stuff.
yeah. I want to, people always ask if I want to go on haunted tours, and like while they seem fun, when like I grew up seeing stuff constantly, so it was like everyday occurrence everywhere I went. And I grew up on the East Coast in Maryland, so like an original 13 colony, so like there's a lot there. And I was like, I haunted tours, like you go because you want to see something. I've already seen enough stuff that like my want is to like see the history of this building, and like this building isn't that historic, so I don't care that much. But no, yeah, I'm excited about those episodes. And my co-host was like, we're talking about this and it's June. I was like, I don't care, man, it's gonna be fun. So yeah, I loved you talking about it. And Boz was her the reaction that was creating alone was so funny to me, because it was just like, what? It's like, yeah, no, I was yelling the whole time like, yes, I've seen stuff like that too. So yeah.
I love that. Well, I don't love that for us, but I love that somebody else relates to it.
Yeah. I loved that whole conversation just because. But changing gears, like I said, that was a little teasery, so hopefully people come back for some Halloween stories. But uh um I lost my spot. I got so distracted. So wrapping it up a little bit, um with models and all of that kind of thing again, you know, you're a model, and like a really good one in my opinion. I always love the, like, you do a really good job of selling emotion in your face, and it doesn't always seem like, the same emotion. Like a lot of people, like they have one look and that's all they have. Like the minor differences in your lips, the minor differences in, the angle of your eye or your eyebrow, and like all of those things, to me, like I said, I see the art in it, and I personally love that. So do you have any words of encouragement to people out there struggling to feel sexy and struggling to try and like get into that modeling like mindset, and how to just like be?
Okay, so first, I'm just going to say thank you. That actually really made my night, because sometimes I look at my photos and I'm like, do I just have one look? So thank you, because
Yeah.
I do try. But my best advice to give to people up and coming is try everything. Don't fall into your niche until you have tried everything, and then what you can and cannot pull off. We're not all going to be good at it all. I look at it as I cannot do cosplay. I tried. It was not good. so, so we're not doing that anymore. But for me, I find the best times that I thrive is when I actually get to just be happy, and myself, or sexy. And that's because I'm actually, to be totally honest with you, just being myself. I'm a highly sexual individual, and pretty happy. So just be yourself and know what works, and never push your boundaries to what doesn't work. And that can be applied in so many various ways, but you will know within 5 minutes of a shoot if you should be there.
Mhm. I love that. You will know, like, yes, I have friends that have done OnlyFans and friends that have done, a little bit of modeling, and they all, I think, didn't have good experiences because of the way that they approached it and what their expectations were versus what they were not comfortable with and feeling like they had to do. So I think that's really good advice. Um, on the same vein, like I, as uh, like a guy, have a specific question towards content, and it's one of those, like, for me on this podcast, like, not very many people know me, not very many people would have any idea, but I did have a short stint Instagram page of like some funner pictures and trying to just feel good about myself. And uh it's one of those, I used to take every Wednesday on, because it's hump day, I used to take a good butt picture, and I would try and like feel good about myself, simply because like it was like that one day a week I would be like, yep, no matter what, I'm going to do this. And it did help, it did make a difference. And I'm curious, where do you think male content fits in the space of social media and the culture of female empowerment? Like, do you think that, it should be hand in hand? Do you think that, you know, there's just not the same level of uh, cohesion, I guess?
So I am a firm believer that your genitalia should not define anything about you. And I know many people don't agree with that, and it's a touchy subject, but it is definitely, I don't believe in gender roles. I don't believe in anything like that. I think that if you want to be empowered, you be empowered. Do I think that there is a consumption factor? Absolutely. May it be where you want it to be consumed? Maybe not. Um, for instance, I love seeing booty shots from men. I love men feeling themselves. I love stumbling across these profiles and being like, what's this? um, I do not like it being shoved down my throat. So I think when it really does come down to it, is there a place for male empowerment, male sexual empowerment? Yes, as long as there is consent. If I am consenting to consuming what you're putting out there, I want to see it. Just don't throw it in my inbox if I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I love that. And that's kind of what me and my co-host were just kind of talking about that. And that's another like super super like important point is, if you stumble upon it, if you're seeking it out, that's cool. If you're forcing it on somebody, that is definitely not cool. Don't do that. And for me personally, like, I had a moment of like accidental. I was sending a picture to my wife. I was playing video games. I threw my phone down and went back to playing video games. Somebody from work texted me, and then I picked up my phone to respond to my wife and send her a picture, and not realizing that I was still on my guy coworker's text thread. So that was fun. It wasn't like anything terrible, but that, honestly, in that moment, I felt so much better about, you know, who I was, because I was like, well, that's out there. And like, I could be like mortified, but I still got to go to work tomorrow. I still got to keep going. So, I think that guys shouldn't be so concerned with it, but also they should definitely be concerned with consent. That is the most important word of that entire thing, is consent. And I am a firm believer in consent, and that, in all honesty, like, I don't, I, I don't understand why that is such a hard thing for anybody sub like 25 now. Like, you should not have that, like it should just be like standard. Anybody over that, like it was still in that time of like where kids will be kids, and you didn't know any, so like maybe you didn't have it taught to you and your parents were of that generation, but now there's no excuse, and Google's a thing, and like law enforcement's a thing. There's so many different things that keep you, like consent is a thing. Just make sure you're getting it. That's what I got for that.
And I will, as a female content creator, I can tell you right now that a lot of my content can be highly sexual, obviously. Um, but, having OnlyFans, having Suicide Girls, I got less dick pics, unsolicited dick pics there than I have having an Instagram and just existing on an open platform. Um, it's almost as though they don't comprehend how you're opening up an Instagram post. You see somebody who you think is sexy, so you're going to say, hey, by sending me a picture of your dick. But I've never consented to that. I don't know who you are. I simply am just existing. Now, if I were on the street, walking down the street, and you were to do the same thing, you'd be arrested and have charges pressed against you.
Mm-hmm.
And when I bring this up in posts, because I have many times, there's always somebody saying, well, you're asking for it. And that is rape culture. And we
Mm-hmm.
are all old enough to understand it, but it doesn't somehow comply to the internet.
Yeah. I that's Yeah, I never understand that myself, and that's like I can't wrap my head around the you were asking for it. Like I grew up with all women. I can I no matter what, you're just existing. Like a pretty girl jogging down the sidewalk, minding her business, is just a girl jogging down the sidewalk. That's what it is, and not even that. It's just a person jogging down the sidewalk. Like it's I don't get why it shouldn't be that level of, hey, just because it's on Instagram and I posted this picture, I don't know who you are, I've never spoken to you, and here you are doing something that like legitimately would get you arrested. Like just no, just don't.
Yep. I like, yes, I need more people like you.
Well, good. Hopefully they're out there and they're starting to find their voice. That's one of the things that brought me to podcasting in general, was like people being like, man, I like your outlook on things, and I like that, and I like that, you're somebody that needs to be talking, especially in, as a guy out here trying not to be the standard. Yeah, I mean,
And
hopefully it's
thank you.
good.
No, honestly, thank you for that, because it's needed. We need more people like you.
Well, thank you. And I need you to answer the this or that questions. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah, go.
All right. So, nerd stuff or spooky stuff?
Oh, why do you do this to me? Spooky.
All right. A family night in or a family road trip?
Family night in.
Yeah, I figured. I've read your posts about your kids and the production that sometimes it is. So I was like, I guarantee it's going to be a family night in, because a road trip just sounds like it is a yeah. So not a surprise there. Um, a photo shoot in an iconic location, or a photo shoot in an iconic haunted location, and as a photographer or the model.
Okay. As a photographer, iconic location. As a
Yeah.
model, haunted.
Yeah, I love it. Those were all good, and I feel like that one, I get like that first one, I was like, I don't know how hard or easy this is going to be, because it could go either way. Like uh what came to my mind first was the your Spider-Man set, because I love that one. It was so good. It was so good. But again, I just want to thank you for being on, and like I said, if you want to chat about spooky stuff and come back on for some Halloween stories, we could definitely do that, but no pressure there. But for this particular episode, thank you so much, and I just appreciate you making the time, because to me, like I said, this is you're like an achievement unlock level guest for me. So
Thank you for having me. I honestly, and I would love to come back, and maybe we'll swap. Maybe I'll be able to get you onto mine when I sort my podcasting.
Yay, that would be awesome. Down to help with whatever. I appreciate that. So just want to let you have a good night, and hopefully everybody loved what you had to say and follows your socials. You want to drop those so people can follow you?
Yeah, so I am the Cuddly Antelope.
Yeah.
Or L Photos 2019. We also do have a podcast. My friend Boz the Bold and we are, oh God, fat, sexy, stoned, and crazy. I am dyslexic. I say it wrong all the time. Like, I'm not saying I'm dyslexic. I'm legit dyslexic. So it's hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you belong here because that's where we tend to find all of the dyslexic people. Like, I'm a dyslexic author, and it's thing, and people that keep coming on here keep being like, yeah, actually I am. So it's a running theme apparently. So yeah, but again, thank you for being here.
Have a wonderful
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.